I made the Sentinels to protect normal people. Now I am become dead.
We're gonna have to save this dirtbag from himself, aren't we?
Now, don't do anything silly, Doctor. Tell us what OZT stands for.
Some group that rose from the ashes of my old Sentinel program. While you X-Men have been holding hands with mankind, they've been placing dominoes.
What about Mr. Sinister?
That madman is one of the most brilliant engineers in history. He said my designs were...
I'm itchy.
Well, you slept in a barn, little lady. Lucky you don't have spiders in your hair. But I bet your daddy scared them all away, huh?
I'm, not her dad. Name's Lee.
I'm Kenny. We better get going, or we won't hear the end of it. That's my boy, Ken Jr. They call him Duck, though.
Dodging or quacking?
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. I was rushing to refill my water bottle because I was drinking
Yeah.
it so fast. I was thirsty.
Oh, no worries at all. I just got here anyway. And you're right on time. Unless you
Well,
need time to go and get more water.
oh no! I got the water while before you even
Fantastic.
came on.
And you can hear me okay, right? I'm coming from AirPods, I think. So
No, I can hear you.
perfect. How are you,
Yeah, but
Phil?
I'm fine. It's halfway throughout the week, and
Yeah.
I'm just scared how every week goes by fast. I'm just scared of it.
Well, when you get to be old like me, it goes even faster. So, do you have
Yeah.
kids by any chance? You have kids?
No, I don't have any
Okay.
kids at all.
Yeah, well, once that happens, if you're so fortunate, I suppose, that
I'm
then
s-
really the time goes very, very fast.
I'm still mid-20s, so
Yeah,
there's
that's
that
about
too.
when I was like 27, I think, when our first kid was born. Maybe 28. So,
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Listen, I'll find the right person when the time comes. Right now, I'm just
oh yeah, for
focused on
sure.
myself. So that's
That's
why I'm
important.
I just gotta focus on my own successes. The extra stuff will come when the time is right.
Yeah, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. It's all good.
Yeah, exactly. So, but overall, are you having a good day so far?
Yeah, it's busy, but it's been fine. I can't complain.
Did you do anything interesting today?
I had a session this morning for a television program. I can't probably say what it is, but did a live show that they do, and they do lots of, voiceover stuff. So I did that. Had a meeting with an AI guy that's building an AI tool. Just mostly just, communicating and working. Same old stuff as usual, but it's always a little bit weird every day. So.
Well, productivity can get you out, can make you focus on the positive.
For sure. It's a much better, I think, mindset to be in. To be busy and doing stuff. So I try, especially during the week, if things are slow, if I don't have a lot of sessions or something like that, I try to just be on top of everything audition wise that comes in, send emails to people, follow up on stuff, because otherwise I'm just going to sit around and be depressed.
There you go. Well, if the small talk is over, again, I like beginning with the small talk first before you
No, yeah, who
started.
doesn't? Small, you
So,
gotta, you gotta work up to the date, right?
exactly. And some people don't do that.
No,
Um,
it's a dying art, sadly.
exactly. Well, we can go ahead and get this started. So, happy Wednesday, everybody. This is Phil, host of the Conversation Podcast, and I have a special guest with me here today. Introduce yourself. Who's Gavin Hammond I'm speaking to?
Who is Gavin Hammond? That's a great question. So I'm a voice actor and a drummer. but mostly a voice actor these days. Anyway, a voice actor from things like the Telltale's The Walking Dead game, X-Men '97, Invincible Versus, lots of other things too that I'm sure I'm forgetting. But been doing this for about 23 years or something like that. So I've seen it all and forgotten most of it.
Well, hey, it still worked itself out.
Yeah, I hope so. They still
So
pay me to say stuff, so as long as they keep doing that,
there's
something
that.
must be going right.
Exactly. So, so before we begin, let's start with a little bit of an icebreaker. Now,
Sure.
you're a drummer, right? Have you ever been to any concerts or participated in any concerts?
Yeah, so I'm in a band. It's called Dance Hall Crashers. That was, I don't know, we did okay in the '90s. We played a lot of shows with No Doubt and Blink when they were, before they had a 182 at the end of their name. Toured a bunch with No Effects and Bad Religion. And we've been playing shows again after 25-ish years of not doing anything. So I am very much a working drummer as well as voice actor. So yeah, I've been to a couple shows, played a couple shows.
Sweet, that's sweet. Well, oh shoot, I was gonna say, if you ever go to any shows, they ever like, because I don't know, maybe he could take some of his bands abroad too, because I've seen so many bands go abroad as well.
Yeah, no, we toured a bunch. We will actually be in Japan in November. We're playing a big show in Japan. I don't know if that's been announced yet, but maybe now it has. But yeah, so we're playing and doing kind of just different things. But yeah, we've been around the world maybe 6 or 7 times. Did a bunch of touring in Europe with NoFX and been to Australia with No Use for a Name, which is a punk band too, or was a punk band. So yeah, kind of been around a little bit, I suppose.
Hey, I'm trying to get abroad too. I'm mostly focused on Japan for my birthday later in
Oh
September.
yeah. Oh,
So I'm
when's your
just
birthday?
September,
September what?
September 8th.
Okay, I'm the 17th, so we're close. But
Yeah,
we're not buddies.
I
We're buddies
got
in
you.
different ways, just not birthday buddies.
There
There's
you go.
a special bond as a birthday buddy. So,
There you go. So yeah, we'll get to those places eventually. Just got to keep working
oh
hard
yeah,
at it.
they're not going anywhere. Japan's always going to be there. So no, it's super fun. We've played there in the '90s. We played there maybe 3 or 4 times. And then we do maybe like 4 or 5 cities each time or something like that. And it's super fun. It's one of my favorite places to visit. It's really cool and interesting. I'm a big, as you can maybe see, I'm a big sort of toy fan, and they do lots of different kinds of toys and stuff that's very
I
cool.
see your
And
Star Wars
food's
collection.
great.
Good thing you
Yeah, there's some
celebrated May the
Star Wars
4th,
here.
right?
I did, yeah. I mean, in as much as anybody else does, I just wore a t-shirt. But I'm a big fan. And then today is the 6th. It's the remember the Revenge of the Sith or 6th. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's some other Star Wars related day. So,
There you go. And I was just looking on my Instagrams, and it was the 10th anniversary of Captain America Civil War. I was like, man, after 10 years, it's still an amazing
oh
movie.
my God. Wow. That's like surprising. I think I worked on the most recent Captain America movie with Anthony Mackie. I'm like,
Really?
yeah, I just did some brief sort of like ADR, some dialogue, replacement where I was, some thugs or something like that. Far as I know, they send me checks. So as far as I know that, they kept me in there. But yeah, strange. But
Wait, keep making those opportunities.
yeah, I'll keep taking them if they send them to me for sure. So,
Exactly. Well, now that the ice is broken, we can go ahead and get into it. So the first part is going to be beginnings and career paths. So one of them is going
mhm.
to be a two-part question, okay, at the beginning. So now, what originally inspired you to get into voice acting? And part two is, how did you first break into the industry?
Well, it's kind of like both of those things probably happened pretty close together. So I was in that band, and we were touring and we did all kinds of stuff. And I think around '98, '99, we were kind of like, winding down. People were kind of tired of playing the same places, doing the same stuff, same venues, kind of like, being in, no offense to Cleveland, but being in Cleveland 6 times in a year especially on a Sunday when back in the day nothing was open. I think people were just sort of tired of that. So I was working in construction. I didn't know anything about that voice acting was like an option for anybody. I had always done voices as a kid. I'd always mimicked, not like impressions, but I would mimic sort of accents and stuff like that. And I mean, I always felt like my impressions weren't very good, so I would just kind of like do a voice that was tangential or something like that. But and then once we stopped and I was working in construction, my dad called me as I was literally digging a ditch on an electrical installation job. And he was like, "Hey, there's some lady on the radio that has a voiceover school and you should like check it out." Because I had always, done voices to the point where it was probably really irritating for my folks and my brother. Um, and I did. I went and took classes for about 5 years, and then eventually got signed with an agent. And I don't know how that I really ever like, I mean, not ever, but I don't know how I particularly broke in. I just sort of like started doing it and was able to just kind of continue doing it. And then the thing that probably resonated with people more than anything else for a lot of us, a whole lot of people in the industry, was Telltale's The Walking Dead. I'd been in all
Mhm.
kinds of stuff prior. I'd been League of Legends champions, which was a pretty big deal. I'd been in games that were kind of a big deal, but that was the thing that really sort of put them on the map, put a lot of the people, a lot of the devs and creatives on the map. Certainly, a lot of us actors. And yeah, that was just a kind of a weird trip, but that's probably what broke me, just in terms of being I guess a hireable actor. And I still hear from people every day, almost every day, but how much the game meant to them and how important it was to them, and which is really cool because it was, I don't know, 15, 10-ish years ago, depending on which season we're talking about.
Right. And no, Walking Dead is a very popular thing. I mean, I haven't played any of the games. I'm hearing some
Mm.
people to me telling me that I should check out the game and watch the show. I would say I'll add it to my list for the summer if I can.
Yeah, I watched the show because the casting for the game came out right after the first 6 episode season of the show, which was fantastic. It was like a weird half season, kind of took everybody by surprise because I had worked in comics, so I was familiar with Kirkman, Robert Kirkman, who created it, and many other things like Invincible. So I was familiar with his work. So I kind of knew the comic, and I'd read a little of like the original sort of trade. So when they made the show, it was really neat, and it was so well done, and the characters were great, the acting was phenomenal. And then pretty much right after that ended, we got the casting docs for this show that Jake Rodkin and Sean Vanneman, sort of basically created for Telltale. And the casting docs were super different from anything else. Usually, video games, you've got movement lines, taunt lines, attack efforts. It was always pretty formulaic, and this was very much narrative driven. Um, Looked more like a screenplay for a show, or an animated show or something like that than anything else, because it was just scenes and scene direction and stuff like that. So little of what we were getting in video games at the time. Yeah, and I think it just kind of like it was really sort of interesting to all of us, just what was cool about it too, at least the first season, was they were based in San Rafael, California, which is just outside of San Francisco in the Bay Area here, where I've always lived my whole life almost. And so it was a local job for a lot of us. So a lot of us knew each other that got to work on it. I had already known Melissa Hutchison. I already knew Owen Thomas, who played Omid. Pretty much the only person that we didn't really, know was Dave Fennoy, who they, cast from Los Angeles.
Yeah,
But
I've seen some of Dave's work. He was Keegan in Gears of War, the Gears of
yep,
Five, and then he was
hmm
also Lucius Fox in Batman Arkham Knight and Batman the
yep.
Telltale series.
Yeah, he's done tons and tons of stuff, and he was a DJ here in the Bay Area for the longest time. So that's kind of like where I had heard him first, which was wild that he ended up doing it. But yeah, and such a lovely guy. I've gotten to know Dave and travel with him, a bit, just as a result of this game. But yeah, and the show's good. I watched the show I think until about season 8. There's a big spoiler that you kind of knew was coming if you were familiar with the comics. And I just didn't love the way they handled all of that, and it just wasn't a place I wanted to like live anymore personally. I didn't want to like be in that universe watching it. But yeah, I think I watched like 8 or 9 seasons, so I felt committed. Like I'm in the game, I should probably at least be comfortable and familiar enough with the show that I could riff on it. But yeah, it got to a point where it was just too dark for me. I need
I
more
understand.
positivity in my life.
I understand. You gotta have that positivity. And sometimes these shows that you act in, especially when you started out, you're gonna be in some pretty dark stuff. But also
For
you
sure.
learn that it's also, I gotta remain positive. They may be dark stories to be telling, but in the real world, I learned to stay positive all the time.
Yeah, and the telling side of it is not dark. It's like the end product may be quite dark, and you may have moments that are heavy and dark, but it's like just the way that we make games, the way they make television shows, the way they make animation. It's like 9 times out of 10, it's just fun. It's kind of a party. Everybody's having a good time. We're all enjoying each other. We're laughing. None of that makes it in the final cut because it's all sort of like, after we do a run or something like that. But yeah, so it's fun to be in it, right? But then you watch the product and you're like, ah, man, it's the emotions and the heaviness of it is a lot. So
Hmm. All right. Well, shoot, I'll make sure to take a look at it because people are texting me on my Instagram saying that they need to go check it out.
it was good. People, we like the game did really really well too. I think we won in 80 or 90 or something Game of the Year awards or something that year in 2010 or 2012 or
Okay.
13 or whatever it was. So people like it a lot. It is very much like a quick time event game where you basically watch a great sort of narrative cutscene and then mash a button in order to get away from a thing. But as long as you're cool with that sort of less actiony gameplay, it's a good time.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's go on to the next one. Now I got another two-part question for you.
Okay.
Um, what were some of your earliest roles or experiences like? You probably answered that in the first part, but let's continue. And part two, at what point did you realize this could be a full-time career?
Oh wow. So I think probably some of my earliest stuff I was in a like first game I was ever in was I think called Kuon, which is like I think it was a Konami like it's like feudal Japan survival horror game or something like that. Far as
Oh
I know,
God.
it's hard to get a hold of, but people really enjoyed it a lot or something like that. That was the first game I ever worked on. The first like big deal game I ever worked on was probably Batman Begins. When the movie came out, I was, a bunch of ancillary characters, and I might have been Jim Gordon too. I don't remember if I know I recorded him. I don't know if I ended up being the final
Right.
product guy. But yeah, and then like because I live in the Bay Area, it's like I have to be able to do lots of different kinds of voiceover work too. So I think the first job I ever had was like a local auto body repair shop or something like that. And I think I realized I could kind of do it for a living. It probably took about 3 years when it was just I wasn't really doing anything else. I didn't have like a gig on the side.
Right.
I was mostly a stay-at-home dad when my oldest son was born in 2004. So I was a stay-at-home dad, but started doing this, and then eventually it got to the point where I needed to be able to go and do voiceover jobs, and I couldn't be at home. So we, were getting help or getting daycare or something like that. So it's probably around then, 2006, 2007, when it really felt like, ooh, this is working, I guess. So,
True. And if I could add on to that, well, let me ask you one question. Do you know the voice actor Alex Lee, who does, do,
yes, he's
yeah,
invincible. He and I have been chatting quite a bit lately, including today. So,
really?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I saw a listen, I saw a post that he did 2 nights ago while I
Hmm.
was trying to sleep. He was talking about how there was like so much hatred coming towards him because
Oh, yeah, yeah, I saw that
he's
too. I felt bad for him.
yeah, he was just doing who's popular. And here's the thing, it's a good thing I brought this up because listen, at the end of the day, you guys are still just people. Y'all
Yeah,
just people at the end
mostly.
of the day.
I know Alex is. Whether or not I'm a people, that's probably for somebody else to judge. But
It's but here's the thing. When he told his story, back in 2018, he was saying he was cut off from his parents and all that stuff, and he had
yeah,
to figure out how to make a living in
right.
2018. It took him a while. Like, listen,
Yeah.
voice acting may seem like it's a very good job and easy to us. I
Oh,
mean, but it's not. It's not if you really pay attention to you guys' perspective. It's really not an easy job. You got to
no, I
like.
mean, it is to a degree, and it's like it's got to be you have to have kind of the right mindset for it. But the things that are like the underlying like truths of the job is there's never any job security. Even if you're like cast as somebody in a game or on a show, they'll recast you as soon as it makes sense to them or as soon as it's somebody's better or cheaper or available. You never really know what you're doing. You're lucky if you know that you've got a gig in 2 weeks. But more often than not, it's you don't know whether
Right.
you're on a show or not. The training can be very expensive. Classes are not cheap, and it's designed to be the kind of job where if you get an opportunity to be in a thing or read for an agent or something like that, the expectation from all the clients and everybody that's around is that you know exactly what to do in those situations. So if you get there and you're like, I've never done this and I'm scared and confused, it's like you're screwed. You're kind of on your own.
Mhm.
But it's like if you have the mindset and you're kind of okay with all of that, ambiguity and uncertainty, it's like, yeah, it's the best job in the world if you can find work. That's the thing too, is it's like it's
Yeah.
highly competitive. You're never ever competing against anyone that you know of though, but it's like I'll submit an audition and there may be 1,000 other people that read the same thing. Which is very reassuring. If you book it, then you're like, wow, I think I got that over, 1,000 other people or something like that. Or if someone just offers you a role, to just kind of work on something, it's like that feels very validating and very encouraging. But, I mean, it took me 20-ish years to get to the point where I was getting offered stuff, and it's kind of like, you never really know. I tell my wife regularly that like, well, I should probably go find a job as a fry cook or something because I have no other training or experience in anything else. It's like my college degree is just a bachelor's degree in linguistics. It's kind of useless. So
Yeah.
it's sort of like, if it dries up, then what do you do? Where do you go? There's no insurance. Like you're lucky if you want to have health insurance, you have to like make, I don't know what it is anymore. It used to be a lot less, but I think it's at least 35, maybe 40 or $50,000 in the
Wow.
union in order to even qualify to buy health insurance provided from the union. Now you can get it from the other union, NAVA, the National Association of Voice Actors. They have very competitive health insurance plans and stuff like that. But still, there's a lot of ambiguity and like the business is not set up to be very friendly to us. You like if you're only doing non-union work because you haven't joined the union, it's like almost never will anybody take any money out for taxes, which means that anything that you're getting, you have to set aside because you're going to get a crazy tax burden. And if you're lucky and you're doing well, you're in a tax bracket that is brutal. So it just kind of, it depends. It looks great on paper, but it's yeah, the little details in the nooks and crannies make it not quite as rosy as it might seem.
And I discussed this with another person. I spoke to this with Darian with author. I interviewed her
Hmm,
last week on Friday. We're actually friends now.
nice.
We talked about, like I told her that when you go into something like this, whatever career that you're doing, you got to understand the pros and cons behind it.
Mm,
Like for
hmm
you guys,
hmm
as voice acting, all the stuff. Voice acting is fun and stuff. You get to voice act a lot of characters. That's the pro.
Sure.
But the con is you get faced with rejections, and you don't
Ah,
know like what exactly. Sometimes they're looking in like exactly like if it's the director's vision, you're gonna get those rejections, and it's like, oh shoot, I
mhm.
wish I had this role. But she also said that once you get used to it, it doesn't phase you as much.
Yeah, for sure. The rejection, and like they had this thing on the wall of the school where I took classes. It's selection, not rejection. which is nice, but it definitely feels like rejection. But, initially too, it's like getting even into the door of an agency and getting the opportunities. That was the thing that was most frustrating for me. And it was like 5 years or something of classes, of me going to classes and being kind of like, I feel like I can do this. I'm just in these classes, and it's like I get feedback that's like, great, come on out, and it's like, or yeah, sounds good, and it's like, I need something I can work with. I need something to make myself better, and it's like it took for me, 5-ish years to get signed with agencies that would send me copy. So it's like
Exactly.
getting there is tough. Sorry, what were you gonna
Yeah.
say?
No, no, no. So I thought you were still talking. I didn't want to interrupt.
No.
Yeah, and I wanted to add on to that. Like I said, some of you guys have other careers besides voice acting. It took me a while
Hmm.
to understand that, but y'all
Hmm.
do like shoot. People like Abby Trot and Brianna and Knickerbocker, they're both singers. And they
Hmm.
sing a lot of stuff. They're singers, songwriters, everyone else is writers.
Hmm.
That's what I like too. Cricket Lake, who I talked to, who's the voice of May from Avatar: The Last Airbender, she's a therapist now
Oh,
because
wow.
sometimes voice acting isn't enough for you guys. Not saying you should stop, keep doing what you're doing,
Yeah.
but
No, for sure.
sometimes it's not always fulfilling, and what you maybe you're just not complete because you're missing
Or
something
lucrative.
else.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot, and a lot of times it's you just don't make enough money year to year to year, and it just kind of you get into a situation where you're like, I'm not booking enough. I'm not doing stuff. I have to find something else to do. But yeah, there is a huge crossover between VO and music. There's a lot of musicians that like came to VO later. There's a lot of VO actors that just, can play an instrument or sing. Singing is really common. I'm a trained singer as well. So that's kind of part of, that was always part of my repertoire, what I could bring to, casting. So yeah, there's a lot of musicians that end up, and writers too. There's a lot of creatives that kind of are familiar because it's a similar lifestyle too. It's like if you're a musician or a writer, it's hard to make a living. It's like you have to be able to sort of do stuff. You got to hustle and you got to be, super fortunate and, trained. You need to have talent. You need to be kind of easy to deal with, that people want to work with you, that people want to root for you, especially people like your agents, your producers, writers, casting people. Those are the people you kind of need to be rooting for you. Otherwise it's like you get fewer opportunities. So they're not going to say, I think this person would be right for this job. Or,
Exactly.
sometimes the agents get asked to do the casting, for the show. I, have worked on shows where the agents were sort of participating in the casting. And so it was like, because I have a good relationship with them, it's like that benefits me in some way sometimes. It's just
Exactly.
weird. It's a hard way to make a living. It can be.
Yeah, sometimes you got to make those mutual relationships after the stuff is done.
Oh yeah, they're
Like I said,
crucial.
like yeah, and like I said, like you have something extra, like you have some sort of foundation. I went back to school too. Like
Mhm.
I finally got all my certificates for my cybersecurity program, so I have something extra.
Nice.
Now
Yeah,
listen, sometimes it's best to have something extra so you can do like for example, here's a good example. Like, okay, we're done with this major project. It's gonna be a while before the next one. What can we do in the meantime?
sure. Well, and VOs can be a lot of little things too, or at least that's what it like from my perspective. It's like I do lots of different kinds of stuff. So it's if I only relied on video game work or animation, I would not survive. I wouldn't be able to continue doing this. But because I do a bit of commercial stuff, promo, narration, sizzles, TTS and IVR nonsense like that, all of those things can be really lucrative. But just because, I'm enjoying the job and kind of like all the different aspects to it, it's like I don't feel like I need to be too sort of, hyper focused on being like the next Nolan North or something like that. It's okay for me to just kind of, do a lot of different things and sort of have a lower profile because, I like the job. I don't necessarily like being, recognized or being, a small C celebrity, but it's like for me, it's just the nature of it is really interesting. I just find it
Yeah.
kind of fascinating.
And having a love and passionate for it too. Like I've been doing this for a while now. Like I'm not doing this for any recognition. I just feel like I need to talk to more people, and that's why I
Sure.
came up with this. And I'm trying to put my bachelor's degree in digital media production and journalism to use here,
Yeah,
not just
for
let it
sure.
sit around for like just collect dust.
Well, I mean, that's what degrees do, though, right? It's kind of like you learn what you learn, but then it's the learning never stops. So it's like whatever you got, whatever you did to get the degree, especially in something like, tech, it's like it's by the time you've graduated, it's like a lot of that stuff is a good foundation, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything in terms of modern, or current projects and stuff like that. And
It
it's like you always have to be training, always have to be learning.
and
It's
just
just the
staying
nature of it.
productive every day.
Yeah,
It's
as
main
much
thing
as
how it
possible.
works. It,
Some days you can take some days off. So sit on
exactly.
the couch and play Pocopia. So
There you go. Hey, I got my Xbox and Nintendo Switch here, so I'm good.
nice. Yeah, if you have a Switch too, I highly recommend Pocopia. I love that game so much. So much
I
fun.
added to the list for summer because I'm out to get
Yeah.
the new Lego Batman soon.
Oh yeah, yeah. I hear that's really or should be really good. I mean, my kids and I played, oh boy, many of the previous iterations of the Lego games, probably on Xbox 2. I don't remember if it was Xbox or 360. I don't, it might even been PlayStation because we have all, I've always had all the consoles. I've always been a video game person. So
There you go.
um, I don't remember what it was we played it on. Might have even been, Nintendo or, you know, the Wii or the Wii U. I don't know. One of those. They're all around someplace, but love the Lego games so much. I'm a huge Lego fan too. So
There you go. Well, shoot, I'll make sure to add to the list this summer.
Pocopia is great, super fun, very cozy. It's like if Minecraft and Animal Crossing had a Pokemon baby.
Sweet.
They should put that on the box because that's about the best sort of description I could think of.
There you go. All right, well, we're officially done with section one. Now we're in section two. It's your favorite. It's called The Walking Dead Breakout Role, The Walking Dead.
Okay.
So this one's going to be a three-part question, okay?
All right.
Now, how did you land the role of Kenny in The Walking Dead? Part two, what was your first impression of Kenny as a character? And number three, did you expect Kenny to become such a fan favorite?
Mm-mm. So I got the role by auditioning for it. It came through my agent in San Francisco, with the way most of the Telltale work that I've done has, come through them. It was just a big casting doc with all of the characters. I think I read everybody but Lee because they were specific that they wanted an African American actor to play Lee, and it's just bad form to not be that nationality or religion or whatever, and like read for something because you're just taking away trying to take opportunities away from people that are legitimately sort of better choices. So I read for pretty much most of the guys that made sense. And I remember there were just so many rounds of casting. Telltale was, the old Telltale, the pre
I
new
got you.
Telltale that they are now. Was so abusive casting was the way that one of my agents described it one time, because casting is they send it to an agent for free and they say, hey, here's all the characters. The agents don't charge them anything, they just like get a commission if any of the actors are hired. So that's how agencies make their money. But there would be multiple rounds of casting for Telltale projects. I remember I had, for a project that I did end up working, but for one particular role on one of their games, I had, I think, 12 or 13 callbacks for
Right.
this character, which is too many. But you get like, the casting docs would come back and they'd be like, everybody was wrong. Nobody was right. We need a whole new round of new people, or we need everybody to need to do a different thing, and which is kind of like, okay, that's bad casting. That's bad sort of telling people what they need. So that would be something that came up quite a bit. But Kenny never came back. All the other characters came back and we read from them multiple times. But Kenny never came back. And so I didn't assume that meant me. I just assumed that somebody got that role. And my like reaction to the character was at the time it was 2010 or so. So I had a son who was probably pretty close to Kenny's son Duck in the game, probably pretty close to his age. So it was just, I just tried to play it pretty straightforward. And I knew that it would be a multiple choices game, meaning like,
Right.
you know, his attitude would change depending on that. So that for me is super easy because it's like I can compartmentalize and it's like, yeah, you're good to me, so I'm going to be nice. You're not good to me, so I'm going to be hostile. You know, for me, it's pretty easy to just kind of flip that switch between, you know, between the scenes. And sometimes it would be that way. You'd have a scene and it would run down and you'd run through all the options. So you'd run through the positive options and then you get to the negative options. So recording that way would a lot of times be pretty easy. But I just thought Kenny was like, seemed like a normal American father, you know, especially from, you know, he's based in Florida. So for me, I just tried to make a pretty generic Southern accent, which made sense to me. They said they did want some sort of an affectation on it. That's one of the things I do. That's one of my specialties is dialects and accents and stuff like that. That's what I studied, you know, in college as a linguist, you know, a linguistics major. And I always try to do them a little bit subdued, you know, a little more, not like super over the top and really kind of like put on thick because people don't really talk that way. Some do for sure, but you know, usually there's like a spectrum of how much you can get away with in terms of pushing an accent. And it's the if you're on the side of being sort of subtle with the accent, a lot of times people, you know, react to that as like, oh wow, you know, that sounds really real or really authentic because it's like you're not, you know, really dialing it up or making it sound like you know, some kind of caricature. So yeah, Kenny to me just seemed like a normal guy that kind of got pushed in different directions, hot or cold, depending. He'd fly off the handle. I thought a lot of the writing of him in particular was funny because he was pretty much borderline racist, you know, towards Lee. But there, could play those things in a way that was not, you know, really kind of offensive. You know, could play him in a way that made
Right.
it a little bit more of like he felt kind of bad that this is sort of, you know, an aspect of his character. So yeah, I just found a lot of little things to kind of, you know, to latch onto and just try to make my own. And then no, I had no idea that he would resonate with people, positive or negative, or that people would want me to sign stuff or do like cameos while I wear the hat, you know, or something like that. That to me, all of that to me is a trip. But no, I still get people that say, you know, like somebody sent me a thing that was like, it felt like Kenny was like their surrogate father. And I was kind of like, damn. I mean, more than anything else to me, that's just sad. You know, that it's like, not for that person, but it's like that's kind of where their interpersonal relationships or like their home relationship with whoever, you know, raised them or was present or not, if that, you know, really kind of just tears my heart out. So to have any aspect of any video game or any project that I work on mean something to people is incredible. To have it mean that to people is, you know, like way beyond what you'd ever expect for this job. And I mean, that's better than, you know, getting paid, you know, to do a job, just to mean something to somebody, to do a little good, make somebody feel better. That you just couldn't ask for anything better than that. I don't think.
Right. And I've been playing a lot of the Telltale games. I just never understood why did they take down Guardians of the Galaxy Telltale games like that.
Mm,
I guess I'm never know. But yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, like yeah, they took down Guardians of the Galaxy to Telltale series for some reason. And I was trying to play the rest of the game because I bought the season pass, and it's like, why'd y'all take the game away? So now it's
Could have been
like
a
I have to.
license thing. You know, all of their games, pretty much from the very beginning, were someone else's license. You know, so and it's like, and those terms expire depending on the contract. You know, that was one of the things that, you know, killed the first iteration of Telltale was all the licensed stuff and like the paying the entire cast of Game of Thrones or something like that, or you know, hiring very expensive actors to kind of come in and you know, play roles, people that don't get paid, you know, a scale rate or something like that. Yeah,
Mm,
it's like if you don't own the IP, it's really expensive. Like when you're
That's true.
paying to license it, you're paying the actors, you're paying your employees. You got to sell a ton of games, and I don't know that
Yeah.
all of those, necessarily sold that well.
True. And going back to Walking Dead, like I've seen a lot of storylines that is really good. I haven't played the Telltale series at all, but I am.
Mhm.
Listen, the more I talk to more people about games I should try out, the more I add more games to my list to try to play for the rest of the year. So I'm just
Yeah, and I
trying
mean, you
to,
could you could blow through it in like a day or so. Like you could do the whole season. I think each episode is maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So it's like in a good sit down gaming session, you could probably get through the whole thing in a day, 2 days.
yeah, yeah. I'm trying to do more Telltale games, and plus I am trying to get back to Batman, the Telltale series as well. That's
Hmm.
like my most favorite one because Batman is my favorite character. As you see, I got
Oh yeah.
all these Batman stuff right
Oh, I
here.
can't. They're tiny. I can't tell. I've got some
Yeah,
Batmans myself, but they're mostly up in that wall over there. There's a
yeah.
bunch of the animated series.
That one over there, I know you can't see it, but this one right here, that's the new
I can
one that
zoom in.
just
I can
that
zoom
just
in. I have the technology.
yeah, that one
Oh
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
yeah, that one I got this year, and like 2 months ago in March. That was the one that came out. That's the Arkham Knight Batman
Oh
with the
yeah.
bat symbol on it. And I was like, why
Totally.
did this Funko do this to me? Because I got Arkham City Batman
Yeah.
like back in the fall of 2025. And I was like, I guess my Arkham collection is complete. Because
I mean, those games though, like which was first? Was it Asylum first or Night was
no,
first?
Arkham Asylum was first. Arkham
Yeah,
Asylum
I
was
mean,
first.
that was like for me, that like set up, like the Insomniac Spider-Man, that set up the sort of perfection of the superhero video game. Because I mean, prior to that, superheroes in video games, like comic superheroes in video games, they would always fail. It was always terrible. And this goes back to like the Superman game on the 2600 from like 1980 something. I mean, they were just awful. So for me, that was like the first game that anybody, and I think that was it Rocksteady, the developer
Yes, it's
of
Rocksteady.
Asylum? Yeah, yeah. For me, that was like the beginning of just perfected superhero games. And then Insomniac came with Spider-Man, which is one of my all-time favorite games ever.
Yes.
Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2. I'm
And
looking
now they
forward to
got,
Wolverine when that
yeah,
comes.
well,
So
that's what I was
yeah.
about to say. Well, but here's the thing, I'm upset because why is it only on PlayStation? Wolverine isn't owned by
Uh,
Sony.
That's true. No, that's true. And that is kind of an interesting point because yeah, Spider-Man is or was, I don't know if he still is, but yeah, I think it's just because that in like they make PlayStation exclusive games. Because I want to say man, what was that one called? I think I worked on it. But it was sort of superhero-ish related. That was another one that was a Insomniac, and it was a PlayStation exclusive, but I forget what it is. Wasn't Was it Infamous? I don't
It's,
remember, but
it's fine.
I don't remember if that's if an actual game or not. But there was one they did two of them, and I worked on one of them. I don't know if I worked on both of them. I don't
Well, at
remember.
least they put Guardians of the Galaxy, the game, on the Xbox, so I'm okay with
Yeah.
that part.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
I was like, at least it's better than that Avengers game that flopped.
Yeah, I heard that that was bad. I felt bad for the people I knew that worked on it. But
Eh,
it happens,
like,
you never know if something's going to be good. And then it's like, well, a funny story, with The Walking Dead was the first, we were working on A Wolf Among Us at the time. We were working on both of them at the same time. And then the first episode of The Walking Dead dropped and was like a massive hit, and people went crazy. And it was like, oh, crap. And we stopped working on Wolf, and they kind of retooled Wolf and came back and recast a bunch of roles and stuff like that. But they went back, and I think it took everybody by surprise. You just never know if your game's going to be good. You always hope it'll be good, but
well, you just do the
it's
best you
hard.
can. And
Yeah, and
then
it's so many moving pieces that it's all kind of have to add up, and just, it's hard to catch lightning in a bottle.
yeah, it is. But hey, play, like as long as you did your best in the game, we'll play it. And listen, if it's not good, okay, let's learn from it so we can try to make
Hmm.
it the next game even better.
Yeah, the industry is so weird just in terms of, people that kind of move from one, developer to another. It's a strange kind of complex place, especially like in AAA. Indie games less so. Indie games you can kind of be like, Silk Song and like spend 5 years making the game and then have it come out and be massive and be like, oh, well, we would have released it last year, but we were having too much fun playing it. God bless him. It's just one of those things that, independent games very much have a different feel, a different vibe. And, that's why so many folks that kind of went from AAA, end up in independent games doing kind of other things or just making something they want to make because it just, I don't know, it feels a little bit more connected. A lot of
Okay.
times, AAA games don't feel as, connected, like culturally.
Okay.
Not culture, but, internal culture.
I understand. I got you. Um, his next up is a two-part question. Okay.
Okay.
Um, what was the most emotionally challenging moment for you to record, or Kenny? And
hmm
looking back, is there anything you would have done differently?
Um, I think like probably the most emotionally charged was probably season one, episode three, when most of, Kenny's people have a bad episode without being too spoilery. So that was something where I would show up at those sessions and I'd be, because it's The Walking Dead, right? I'm gonna die. And so I would show up and be like, so how do I die? And they'd be like, you don't. Oh, great. Yes, I would do that pretty much every session.
Yeah.
And I remember, that day, I'm like, so how do I die? And they're all, you don't. But
Ooh,
yeah.
there's always a
And
but.
yeah, this one was a big one. But so that was probably the most emotionally charged because I think the aftermath to a lot of that scene was heavy. My son, was of an age that I was very sensitive. I wasn't seeing a lot of my kids at the time too, because I was traveling to these sessions and I was back and forth between other jobs. And back in the day, we actually had to go to the studios to record. These days, I kind of just do it all from this little Star Wars closet. But that was probably the most emotionally hard day, and even that wasn't too bad. I can just tap into personal pain and turn it on and off. And what was the second part of the question? God
Yeah,
damn it.
it's okay. It's okay. I got you. The second part was, now looking back, is there anything you would have done differently?
Oh, probably not. I probably would have. I mean, I would have tried to enjoy it a little bit more.
Okay.
Which is kind of my, MO in life in general is that, looking back on things, I wish that I had more fun. That the memories that I have of these things focused more on the fun times rather than the, anxiety and introspection and all that sort of stuff that's plagued me all my life. Yeah, just probably enjoyed it more.
Okay.
Those sessions were crazy too because it was, you would think that if you were making an episodic game, you would have all of the screenplay for the whole season written. Maybe there's some tweaks here and there that you might, sort of adapt, but you'd have the whole story. Was not the case. So there were definitely times where it was like we would have multiple sessions in a week, which was great financially, but it would be kind of like, what are we doing? Like, we just did this. Oh, I don't remember if we got these lines because they don't know. And it was like everybody was kind of running around like, a chicken on fire. So those times made it a little bit challenging. So that probably tainted some of my memories of how it all went down. But yeah, I wish I had more fun, in general.
Okay. I understand. Sometimes the directors don't give you a cookie, but you gotta
Oh,
follow
but this
exactly the lines.
this director always did. So that was all of those sessions were directed for the most part by Julian Kwasniewski from Bay Area Sound, who is a good friend of mine and a lovely guy. And he was always very cool. It was more of like, the structure between Bay Area Sound and, like the executives at the developer. That was not always like a very smooth, seamless kind of, back and forth sometimes. And so that was more it. I always had, the engineer, Jory Prum, may he rest in peace, and Julian on my side. So that was always that like that life preserver of those two cats. And especially like a lot of the directors that worked on it, Mark Darren, Jason Latino, Dennis Lenart, who've gone on to, other things that are also amazing and exciting, are still very close friends of mine, so it's still something that like that aspect of, the actual work itself was quite fun and pleasant. It was just the kind of chaos that surrounded the project that colored it a little bit.
Okay, sweet, sweet. That's nice, man. Hey, like I said, even when you're doing these recording sessions and all you guys out there in California, Texas, make those connections, okay?
For
Always.
sure. Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, those relationships are, those are the things that will, sustain a career more than anything else. My longevity being able to do this, has been in no small part just because, I show up and like I'm easy to deal with and I'm usually pretty easy to direct and I don't like, complain a lot. I'm happy to be here. And I like the work, even like in those sessions where it was like the chaos was something, but it's like it doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the sessions or didn't enjoy the process. I always do. But if and there were times, some of those times too, where I was like, I would have like a toy session in the mornings. I do a lot of interactive toys too. I would have like a toy session in the morning on the other side of the Bay Area, and then maybe a thing or two in between, and then have to be, up at Studio Jory in the afternoon. And so that would be a day where I'd leave at 6 in the morning and maybe get home at 9. And so I would just have these days that were very busy, very lucrative. Certainly not complaining about that, but just long. And so it's tiring. It kind of wears you out after a while.
Okay, okay, sweet. Well, on to the next section, which is craft and process.
Mm,
So I'm
hmm.
just throwing two-part questions everywhere, but they do
I like it.
correlate with it, but they correlate with everything else as well. Now, what does your recording process look like behind the scenes,
Mm,
and how do you handle emotionally intense scenes as an actor?
mm. So my process, I've never really thought too much about it. But so the nice thing about voiceover in particular is if you're busy and you're, and you're versatile, you're getting copy every day from your agents. And so for me, my recording process is pretty streamlined. It's like my DAW, my digital audio workstation, is usually open on my computer. So I just kind of log into my computer, pop in there, put headphones on, and then just like pull up the script on an iPad. And I'm usually pretty efficient. I just kind of like, I can sight read something pretty quick and then usually kind of have an idea what I can bring to it that makes sense. Because it's like a lot of these things too, especially after 20 plus years, it's like I'm not necessarily trying to reinvent myself on every single audition. So it's like some cases it's kind of like you go with what what makes sense, because they're usually looking for something straightforward. More often than not, when I think like they're asking for these specifics in the specs, they would really want it to sound like this or really like that, and then you see it on the air or you see it in a game or something, and you're like, oh God, they just wanted pretty straightforward. So I usually try not to overthink things too much. I get up, basically feed my kid, and get him ready for school. My youngest, who's almost 18, and then I go downstairs and record for a couple of hours and kind of get what's out of the way. If I'm working on an audiobook, I'll spend a few hours here and there, kind of working on that too. And then more than anything else, I'm just monitoring, kind of what comes through. If I'm not that busy, I'll try to just be sort of kicking things back all the time, kind of like we talked about earlier. I just like to stay kind of busy and in the moment. Your agents love that when they email you or when they send you something and you like reply right away or you get right back to them. They like that because then they know you're working, which they want you to be doing. Um, for like emotional stuff, I usually just let the writing kind of dictate, my sort of reaction and response to it. And it's like, if I'm reading it and it's moving me emotionally, then it's like I just kind of tap into that and just sort of let it out. Um, but if I'm having a hard time kind of connecting to it emotionally, I might try to like visualize something or put myself in a, sort of like a method-ish kind of situation where I'm trying to, imagine, this thing is happening to me. But more often than not, usually the writing is enough. One of my mentors, Pat Fraley, used to say, one of his mentors, I think it was Chuck Bloor, used to say to him, good acting is good writing. If the writing's good, I don't really have to do much. All I really have to do is get the words off the page, make it sound like it's not being read, but that someone is extemporaneously saying these things. So for me, more than anything, it's like if it's written well, I don't have to do a lot, in order to tap into that emotion. If it's not, and have to do some turd polishing or something like that, then I might, tap into a little bit more of myself. But I mean, fortunately, with like the Telltale stuff, with X-Men '97, with some of those projects that were so good, I didn't really have to do any of that. All I had to do was just kind of be present and be in the right sort of headspace.
There you go. And listen, and sometimes every scene that you do, sometimes you got to put on like facial expressions and everything. Like if
Hmm.
it's like a happy, funny
Oh yeah,
comedic scene, then yes, it's going to be funny. I got to put on my funny face. Now, if it's like a
sure.
sad scene, I got to put on my sad face. Got to sort
Yeah, and no,
of.
that's a great point because so much of like, you think voiceover and it's just you stand there static in front of a microphone and just sort of open your mouth and the words come out. But it's like I'm a big hand actor, so I'm like I mean, I'm using them all the time right now. But it's like I'm always, doing things with my hands, smiling makes a massive difference in what you sound like. And frowning also makes a big difference, the shape of your face. So it's like, yeah, that's, another thing that we always kind of have to take into account. The more I can bring to it, I think the more it gets the words off the page.
There you go. So yeah, so all that stuff, like I said, listen, you just gotta read the room, like read the room,
Hmm.
read the scene, and
Hmm.
know exactly what you're doing.
Hmm. For
So,
sure. Especially animation too, because there's so much information in this, like the scene and the set decoration and all that sort of stuff that comes in the in between parts of the scripts, especially like in animation, because there might be a part that's like says that your character does something, or has some kind of reaction to something, or like falls or or throws up or something like that. And so it's like if you're reading the audition and you don't read those things and you just kind of gloss over it, then it's like you're basically telling on yourself. You're revealing to them that you don't read it and that you don't understand it. And so the more that you can add to those things, because that's what the people that do it all the time, that's what James Arnold Taylor does, or Trevor Duvall, all of these guys, that do a ton of animation. It's like that's what they do. So it's like if you want to be in that league with those people, or if you want to like be in a casting opportunity like against somebody like that, then it's like, yeah, you got to bring all of that. Otherwise it's like you're just doing half the job.
Somebody, I like that you said Trevor Duvall because some of the
Oh
stuff
yeah.
that he's in, like Gears 5. Listen, before we got online, I just did a Gears 5 match.
Oh
And
nice.
Trevor's character, Mac McAllister, he kills me
Yeah.
a few times and used me as a shield. I was
Yeah,
like,
he would.
no,
He
I
would.
was like,
Trevor
I
would
was
not, but I got to work with him on Guardians of the Galaxy. I was like an ancillary
TV
one-off
show.
character, the cartoon.
He was
Yeah,
he
so
was funny as Rocket.
he's a great Rocket. His voice was great. He was super funny. That's where I met David Sobolov too, and Tara Strong, and God, so many people who are just so massive. Yeah, that was a crazy one. That was one of the first like real animation sessions I had where I kind of like I walk in the room and I'm like, I know who all of these people are. Vanessa Marshall, Jeff. Oh God, I'm
You also
spacing on
got
his voice,
you
but
also got Will Fredel.
I think so. I don't think he was there that day. But it's kind of, yeah. It's like just three or four people. Sometimes, some days are more, some days are less. But yeah, that was one of those times where pretty much every animation session I've had, I walk in and I'm like, I know who all these people are, and
There
I
you
don't think
go.
any of these people have any idea who I am. But it's like
It's,
that's scary as hell.
yeah.
But it's neat, and then the sessions are so much fun, and it's like we're laughing, and it's like you do your run, and then it's like somebody cracks a joke, and everybody's laughing, and the director's like, okay, 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 let's get back to it.
Exactly.
It's so cool.
Some of the interactions with him and with Trevor Devon and Real as Star-Lord and Rocket. When I was watching Mission and Breakout the last season, like so many times when they had to get when they met, Robbie Damon, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, because he's doing Spider-Man 2017, and
Oh
those
yeah,
funny parts where he said nobody calls me Raccoon, and then he
that's
was
right.
actually going to shoot Star-Lord. I say, call me Raccoon, I dare you.
Yeah, right. Rocket's such a great character. Huge. I'm a big fan of also oh man, what's his name? The guy that like plays him in the movies, Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, Bradley
Love him
Cooper.
too.
Yeah.
And it's basically just him. It's him like with the Boston just like, turned up maybe like for maybe turned up an hour on the dial or something like that.
I need to
Uh,
get back and I need to get back and watch the movies. I haven't watched Guardians of the Galaxy movies in a while, and I'm trying to get back
uh,
to playing the game as well. So there's
mhm.
that too.
Two is okay. Three was good, but three for me, there were some there's like a plot line in there, and it's a rocket centric, storyline. I think it's three. It's either
Yeah, it
three or
is.
four. Yeah,
Yeah, no. It's three
rocket centric
because
story. Yeah, yeah. And you've seen it. Yeah,
yeah,
that
I've
for
seen
me,
it.
it was like a lot of the sort of the animal stuff was too much for me, and I was kind of like, I like it. It's good. It's entertaining. I love Nathan Fillion being in it. I'm like, it's all great, but it's like that sort
Yeah.
of animal testing and torture stuff is not
See,
cool.
yeah, see,
Yeah.
I got the
Oh
poster.
yeah.
Yeah, I
There you
got the
go.
poster, and I got a frame too. So
Nice.
there's that. Listen, I had to get the poster when I went to the movie theaters in 2023, and then later I got a frame for it. I was like, that would
That
probably
kind of
look
looks like, I
good.
mean, it's hard for me to tell from here. It kind of looks like a Drew Struzan too. Is that who
Yeah,
drew that?
yeah, it looks like
It's
it.
got that vibe.
I said it looks like it would look good in a brown frame instead of a black
Mm.
frame.
Mm-hmm.
I said I think it does look good in a brown frame instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I got a few posters in my room. I also got Shadow over there too from Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Nice. Yeah,
Avengers.
yeah.
There's some Goku in the background.
Nice.
I'm trying to get a poster for this guy, hopefully.
Who's that?
So
Or the Batman? Is
no,
that the
that's
Batman you're
Sonic.
talking
That's
about?
Sonic.
Oh, I can't see. I mean, I'm
Oh,
just,
oh, Sonic's right
it's
here.
too small. Sonic. Nice.
Yes, I'm
That's
trying to.
the Rogers Sonic, the old
No,
school
no, no.
Sonic.
That's Ben Schwartz.
Oh, okay, cool. Nice.
I'll tell you, I'll let you in on something. My cousin, who does like a lot of professional photography, he's friends with Tika Sumpter.
Cool.
So I'm saying, well, shoot. I was saying, well, shoot. Hey, maybe if I could see if I could try to interview Tika Sumpter since they're coming out with the fourth movie. It's possible.
Yeah. I met she plays Tails. I'm spacing on her name.
Colleen,
Colleen O'Shaughnessy.
yes.
Yeah, I met her at a convention in Kansas that we were both at not too long ago. Gosh, she is just delightful. She was so cool. And she's like, I have no idea what I'm doing in this movie. She's like, I worked on the games and then they called me to be in the movie, and she's like, what? But yeah, so rad. She's the coolest.
Well, hey, listen, the more I keep going out to different places, listen, I'm trying to save my money and go to these places. The more I
Mm,
try to interact and ask you guys questions and interact with you guys, the more opportunities I have out there. So
sure.
just gotta keep listen, just like we've been saying, just keep putting in the work. It'll come later.
Yeah, putting in the work, making connections with people, being cool, being
Mhm.
somebody that people, want to root for. It makes a huge difference in life. I think our current sort of climate of the United States right now, it's like there's not a lot of people that feel like we're rooting for each other. You know what I mean? It's definitely set up in such a way that we're actively encouraged to root against each other,
Yeah, it's
which
getting to
I
that
think is by
point.
design. But don't get me started on that, even though I
Oh, I
brought it up.
won't. I won't. Let's see. Last question, and then we'll be at Industry Insight, okay? Now, you probably know the answer to this because every voice actor drinks tea. How do you take care of
Uh,
your voice after during long sessions?
So I do drink tea, especially if I'm in like I have done a lot of toy work, as I mentioned before. There is one particular toy that I did that has lots of different voices and lots of different personalities that gets loud and screams and sings and does all kinds of things. And it was very important that I would have tea to kind of just stay
Mhm.
lubricated. Day in and day out, though, at home, I don't. I just kind of drink coffee. And I don't do too much besides rest. I've always been really resilient vocally. When I was a kid, I used to yell and scream and make all kinds of voices and noises all the time to the point where I would get hoarse pretty regularly. I would have sore throats all the time. So I don't know if that initial damage just kind of made me more resilient or something, but I'm usually, because I have this really kind of nasally kind of present voice that it really just kind of
Mhm.
cuts through. It's like it usually sounds about the same, as long as I'm in my base kind of, natural speaking voice. And it doesn't seem to, register too much with people. Like, because I've gone to sessions where I'm matching something that, I had done 5 or 6 years ago for a toy or something like that. And I'm like, oh, wow, I was really sick that day. And they're all, huh, how can you tell? And I'm like, well, I can hear it in my voice. And they're, oh, no, it sounds the same to me. So I don't know. For me, I don't do a ton. I just rest, especially if it's a really vocally stressful session, which this don't come up too much. The industry these days is really cognizant of not like wrecking and ruining us, much more so than it used to be. It's much easier for us as voice actors to advocate for ourselves and say like, hey, actually that's a really bad idea. Why don't we do that at the end? Or like, is this a type of, effort or emote that you think is going to be used in the game? And they're like, no, we just want to hear what it sounds like. It's like, okay, well, in my own sort of defense, it'd be nice not to do that if it's not a thing that we're going to use, because I'm not just here to sort of scream until, it's entertaining to you. So I think that
Gotcha.
it's gotten definitely better than it used to be. I don't do too much. I don't drink tea on the regular. If I'm doing like an audiobook or something like that, I might, just to make sure that I'm not too sticky, so I don't have to do too much editing, to my little pops and clicks and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
more often than not, I don't do much.
There you go. And listen, like, I do have my days off too. I feel like every time, like it said, and yes, take care of yourself because after so many hours, that voice has got to rest and get ready for the next one, getting ready for the big
Yeah,
game. And like listen, every day when I be waking up, I feel like I could be doing more. Like, listen, sometimes I get
sure.
exhausted from coming home
Who
from
doesn't?
work and I want to do more, but my
Yeah.
body's telling me I need to surrender.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, it's hard because I think especially if you're, pretty self-critical like I am, it's hard not to, it's hard to let yourself relax. It's hard to let yourself sort of enjoy whatever you're doing or find joy in it. It's easier to, get locked back into those same kind of like, mindsets that are self-critical or, hypotheticals that you could have done or something like that. It's too easy for me to get lost in that. It's harder for me to kind of find moments where I can let myself go, which is, it's a challenge, but that's kind of been the story of my life, I suppose.
It Exactly, man. So yeah, always take care of yourself after a long day. And listen, just rest now. What's the old saying? Take care of yourself before you take care of others.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds like a very American, a very American idea. Yes, I think the phrase is put your own safety mask on before you put the safety mask on someone else. I think that's where that sort of is devised from. But
Yeah.
yeah, no. And RuPaul would say, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love anybody else? And then, can I get an
Mhm.
amen up in here?
There, there you go. So, well, we're getting close to the end. Before we continue, how are you enjoying our discussion so far?
Oh, I'm enjoying it thoroughly. How about you?
A great. Yes, I'm liking this discussion. Just want to make sure we're having a good time.
Oh yeah.
Um, Now, next up is going to be industry insight. Now,
Okay.
three parts. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One, what's something people misunderstand about voice acting?
Mm.
Number two, how important is networking in this industry? We probably
Mm-hmm.
both know the answer, but let's continue.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to someone trying to break in today?
Oh wow. Okay. So I think a lot of the misconceptions, which we've kind of covered a little bit, is one of the misconceptions is that it's easy or anybody could do it. Yes, we all have voices. We're all able to sort of talk and communicate with each other. But that doesn't mean you could drop somebody in front of a microphone and give them like a video game script and expect them to know what to do with it. So yeah, there's a lot of kind of, training that's involved. There's a lot of acting that's involved. There's a lot of support, physical support, in terms of like supporting from your diaphragm, like a singer, a lot of lung capacity. There's a lot of sort of room for, specific tips and specific tricks and stuff that kind of come up. There's always places for you to have like weird skill sets that you can kind of, work on. One of the sort of fundamental, I think, ideas is like you accentuate what you do well, you hide what you do poorly. And then that way it seems like you're always sort of well suited for the job. The second part of the question was, don't tell me. Damn it. No, tell me. Sorry.
how important is networking in this
Oh,
industry?
geez. Yeah, networking is in some ways everything. There are people, very massive, huge people, that were kind of, starting out at the same time I was, that are much more massive than me because of their networking skills, their networking ability. So just having connections to people, for me, it's helped me just have like a long career of having, it's helped me have clients for 10 or 15 years on projects until they go away, and then those people like still want to root for you and might bring you something else. Yeah, networking is a huge part of it, and it's very hard to do these days too, when so much of what we do, is from a home studio. So much is over Source Connect or Skype, or I guess not Skype anymore, Zoom or Teams or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's harder to do that. It's harder to maintain those relationships. Networking with other actors is also kind of really beneficial, but only for our own sanity and our own sort of ability to connect, and sort of like relate to each other. Because it's hard for us to complain to people that don't do it for a living. It's like you can really kind of get into it with somebody that is a voice actor. You can really kind of complain about the nuances that will sound quite petty. And, to somebody who actually sits in an office all day, or something like that, it's like my complaining about, having to, commute there one time or something like that, it's harder for people to sort of relate to that. So it's good for us to have that social structure where we can bitch and moan, with people that actually won't sort of roll their eyes at us. And I think if you're starting out, there's a great website that D. Bradley Baker of, everything fame has created called iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. It's just a great sort of primer for, what the job is like, what to do, what not to do, what kind of training, you should expect to have, what kind of experience you should expect to have. And I think more than anything else is you take classes from a reputable school that you like, that treats you well, that doesn't take advantage of you, that doesn't manipulate you in the interest of making more money off of you. And in the same way, you find a coach or someone that you like to work with that you feel like gives you actionable feedback and advice, and, study and then just keep at it. I was ready to kind of quit before I even got started. I was maybe 3 years in, and I just felt like I'm not getting any responses from anybody. Like there's no agents that want me to do anything. I'm not going to casting calls because all I'm doing is going to these classes, and it's like nothing was happening. And my wife was like, "You have to give it 5 years." She's like, "Do a 5 year, and then after 5 years, reevaluate." She's like, "But you have to commit time to trying to do the thing." And she was totally right. And it was around 5 years of classes for me when I got signed with my agent in San Francisco. And then just kind of went from there to, an agent in LA, to a better agent in LA, to just sort of, more and more opportunity.
There you
That's how
go.
you do it.
Exactly. And
And
listen,
like,
oh, go ahead.
nobody's journey is the same. So it's kind of like I know people that did it for 3 months and got cast in something, and then people like Alex, that spent years trying, and then like
Mm-hmm.
developing like a following on on TikTok or something like that, which
Yeah,
a lot of people do these days too. Yeah, and it's nobody's journey is like yours, so never compare your journey to anybody but yourself, where you were then. You know what I mean? It's like only
exactly.
use yourself as a guide. You can aspire to be Troy Baker, you can aspire to be Misty Lee, but you should definitely make sure that you're not comparing yourself to those people. You're not judging yourself against those people, because it's just
Right.
between you and your microphone.
Exactly. And and something that Jack Broadbent told me before, I talked to him back in November, back in season one of this, comparison is the thief of joy. And
Hmm.
other recent thing too, and I saw something that one of the voice actors, I'm actually commenting under Alex Lee's post, Beth
Hmm.
Pierce. I'm actually going to interview her at later this month. We've been
Cool.
talking. She's very sweet. She was saying like the only reason they're popular because they're good at what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's not if it was just easy to be popular and to get, I think Alex has like 500,000 or 600,000 followers or something like that on I don't know, millions maybe on TikTok. But you don't just get that because, you just kind of put yourself out there. It's like that
Mm-mm.
takes so much work.
It
I
does.
don't have the patience or the energy to do that. I'm also old, so it's
I
less
understand.
interesting to me. But you know what I mean? It's like that is not easy. And so it's like getting that success and like approaching voiceover from that place is really different from the way other people approach it. So it's like it's hard, and I felt so bad for him when I saw that video. I was just kind of like, geez, man.
People
You'd
just
think it'd be easy.
but it's not. And
No.
this goes back to what I'm saying. Like, like y'all gotta understand. And my problem is some of the fans we see today, they don't see you guys as voice actors, as human beings at the end of the day. That's why
Mm.
we have so many incidents like what happened with Zach Engler back in
Hmm.
August, and you
Yeah.
have like other stuff, they were and because y'all sorry, I'm a little
You're
upset. I'm just trying to get it to
No,
get
you're totally
together.
right. I mean, I probably get addressed as Kenny more often than I get addressed as Gavin, which is kind of like it's fine. It's cool that people, it's cool that people resonate with, or like, that they sort of relate to the character or think the character, resonated with them in some way, but it's like I'm not him. It's like I'm totally not that guy.
Mhm,
I'm a pretty different probably than he would be in terms of his whatever affiliations he might have if he were a real person.
mhm,
But there's a lot of that we kind of get that all the time, and it's cool, but it's more revealing about who is saying it, to
right.
us rather than us. To me, it's kind of like if somebody approaches me and addresses me as Kenny, it's just kind of like, yeah, cool, superficial,
Exactly.
because
And
this interaction is superficial, right? So it's
right.
weird. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And listen, and this goes back to what I was saying, like, like I think the more, and I spoke to Darian about this, the more we get to just have conversations with you guys, they see that,
Mm-hmm.
hey, we're like you and I, like when she was actually excited when we actually started talking, like you and I were just chilling. When they see us that we're just people at the end of the day, besides these characters, the more they're like make those close connections. Because
Oh
I've seen
yeah.
so many creators this one person come SS Goshen for. She's been doing
Mm,
Dragon Ball content for years now. She's
sure.
actually close friends with most of the Dragon Ball actors, especially Stephanie
Nice.
Nalandi, who does Kid Goku. And
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing. What we as other guys when we're doing other content, like we want to understand you guys from our perspective. Like I said, I want to talk to y'all not just as voice actors, but as people. Because at the end of the day, these guys are not the characters.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
like.
And I mean, I know a lot of voice actors, and it's like we're some of the coolest people on the planet in terms of like what we get to do, like where we're from, what our background is, kind of what our experience is. It's like it's weird, There's but people are just like that. People are interesting, and but yeah, someone that's chosen to do this, we're usually pretty interesting. It's very rare that you meet a voice actor that's kind of a dick. So it
Mhm.
happens sometimes, but not very often. So
Exactly. So, but yeah, I'll just be telling people, y'all, let's keep that same energy, okay? Let's not do anything stupid
please.
or weird, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah, I haven't had any of those sort of interactions in a while, but there was a period where there were a couple people that were like hostile towards me just because of my character's relationship with Scott Porter's character in the season 2 of The
oh
Walking Dead game.
Lord.
And it was like Scott and I were chummy, we like went and hung out, and like I think we went and hung out with Dave Fenoy, in Burbank or something like that. But it's like, yeah, it's just weird to kind of like to be openly hostile towards an actor, because of a job they did. It's just it's a it's a sign of immaturity, I think,
They
unfortunately.
did the
But
same thing to Laura Bailey when they did The
oh
Last
yeah,
of Us. They kept
poor
sending it like,
her.
I'm like,
And she
it's
was
just
so good in that. And it's like, it's not her fault. You know what I mean? It's like
that's
the story is the story. And it's like she's playing a role. It's like I think a lot of the hate just came from the fact of how season or the second, The Last of Us 2, which I was in. Yay. But it's like I think how that the whole season or the whole, show kind of sets up, how the game sets up, with that big, spoilery sort of moment. And it's like, yeah, like because you don't like that, because you don't like that aspect of the story, it's like people were crapping on her for playing Abby. It's just like so dumb. I don't know.
I'm
I
like,
don't have
it's
any
just a
patience for it. I
game.
don't entertain it.
It's just a game. Why are y'all crashing out over
Yeah,
this?
and it's like it's a game, and she is a lovely human being. She's really, really sweet, really kind. And so that's just kind of strange, to sort of react that way. It'd be like if people reacted that way to Melissa Hutchison. It's like, I mean, if they did to Melissa, I'd probably drive to wherever they were and, and hit them with a fire extinguisher or something like that. But yeah, it's just like, and that's what drives people away too. It's like then people don't want to do it. They don't want to interact with anybody anymore because why would you? And it's like when the reactions are so hostile. And that's a fantastic game. I love that game. So whatever.
Well, shoot. I'm one of the good ones out there. I respect your work. If y'all play the bad guy, that's fine. The only thing I'm going to say is, hey, listen, I was going to be like, hey, please don't kill my character too much, okay? And I'm moving
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I
all.
mean, it's not up to me. Bad guys are fun to play too. Bad guys can be really fun. But yeah, you just never know. And it's, any role you're happy to be there. You're happy to have the role. You're happy to get a paycheck for, getting to play.
Exactly.
So,
When Laura Bailey, Kate Diaz killed me in one of those matches on Gears 5, did I
oh
did
yeah.
I send her any messages and whatnot? Nope.
No,
I went back to
no.
play my game because at the end of the day, she's not the character. And
Yeah.
besides I got Kate Diaz back later because I actually did an
Yeah.
execution on Gears 5. I said, there
As
we
a
go.
as a lifelong gamer myself, it's like that's such a weird, and I think it's just the advent of the internet, having that connection where you can actually contact those people or you can say things and they'll see them. Yeah, that is such a weird reaction. For like, I would never do that. It's like I might stop playing the game. I would spend time doing something else. But yeah, getting that invested in like, harassing somebody, I don't get it.
They
It
just
helps no
they
one.
well, those little chodes can go F themselves.
There's so
So
many of them out there too. It's weird, but it is what it is. It's
it,
the culture around games has always it's been toxic in some ways. So
exactly. Well, we are officially at the end here. Now,
right on.
what's a role or type of character you love to play in the future?
Oh man, I like to play pretty much anything, but I would love to do more sort of things in kind of like with like Blizzard. I love Blizzard. I would love to work with Naughty Dog again. For me, it's more of like a developer, kind of an angle where I just feel like stories or narratives or, game design or something are really interesting to me, that would be really fun. But it just kind of depends. I'm happy to do whatever comes up, and I can't be too picky just because I am I'm basically a freelancer. I'm not, somebody that gets offered roles, all the time. So I have to kind of take what comes. But yeah, I mean, more than anything else, I would just be content to get to keep doing this. That would be enough for me.
There you go. Well, shoot, I feel like you're going to do something amazing the next few years, so I can't wait to see what you do.
Well, we'll see. There might be things in the pike that are, that we're just sort of waiting to come out. Who knows? You just never know if they're going to be good.
Well,
But you
hey,
hope.
I'm going to sit back and wait, okay?
Cool. Yeah, and
So,
then or reach out to me in a year or so, and I'll see if I
there
can
you
say like,
go.
oh yeah, or might just be like, oh yeah, that thing came out, it's terrible. You'd be like, oh yeah, that was terrible. Like, yeah, better luck next
Exactly.
time.
Gotcha. Well, I think that kind of wraps up everything. Did you enjoy
Right
our
on, Phil.
discussion today?
Yeah, I did. Did you?
Oh, of course I did. I'm
Okay, good,
asking
good. I
you
mean,
if
yeah.
you enjoyed it.
What kind of question is that? What am I supposed to say? No, I hated every word of it. Yeah,
Yes. Hey, listen, I bring with receipts. I always just try my best on these episodes,
you do
and it was
fantastic.
working.
Yeah,
So
you do such an excellent job.